Thank you for tuning in to Beyond the Dais, a podcast about the stories taking place in and around El Paso County, Colorado. I'm your host, Scott Anderson, and it is once again time for everybody's favorite episode of the podcast, Strategy Team Sessions. Woot, woot!
Yay.
It's very exciting. Everyone loves these guys, I promise you. For those unfamiliar with how this works, this is an opportunity for me to catch up with some of my coworkers from the strategy team and discuss the large number of things that they're working on at any given time. That said, I want to introduce the two eager volunteers for this episode. First is Vernon Stewart, our fearless leader and the executive director of the communications department. And second is Mike Madsen, our open records manager and self-proclaimed breakfast burrito connoisseur.
Yeah, I suppose so, yes.
How are the two of you doing today?
Doing well, thank you.
Great. Thanks for having us, Scott.
Good. Yeah, no, my pleasure to have the two of you on. I really appreciate it. But before we get started, I wanted to quickly add that if listeners are interested in more stories about people doing good in and around El Paso County, or hearing from county leadership about local government priorities and how they operate, you can find additional episodes of this podcast on your podcast platform of choice. But to get started, guys, I was wondering, for those who haven't heard you talk about it before, both of you have been on the podcast before, your second appearance. I think you guys are the first two to have a second appearance on the podcast, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
First
wow.
returning guest. This is actually a really big moment.
Yeah.
So feel good about it.
But for like a gold star or something put in the ground?
Yeah, it's in the mail.
A breakfast burrito, maybe?
Yeah. You'll be getting it in the mail soon. Don't worry about it. So for those who may not have listened to your previous episodes, it'd be great if you guys could talk a little bit about what it is you exactly do here at El Paso County. And Vernon, you're the guy. We'll start with you.
Oh, sure. I do want to be clear, though. Wasn't I your very first episode?
No, you were like number 5.
Oh, okay.
5 or 6.
That's kind of disheartening.
Yeah.
So, thanks again for having us on, Scott. And, I've been looking forward to this, with you two. It's always going to be an interesting conversation.
I see your tongue firmly planted in your cheek for that comment. I'm not quite sure I believe you.
Yeah,
but.
I don't believe it either, but, So what I do, as you said, I'm the executive director of communications for El Paso County. And in my role, I oversee the audiovisual team. This is the team that's responsible for broadcasting and in running all of our meetings that a lot of our residents see on our social media channels, on our public access channel. I also see the strategic communications team. These are the folks that are running our social media. These are the folks that are sending out our press releases, meeting with our media representatives, and a lot of our community outreach that we do throughout El Paso County. And also Mike, also our Cora manager as well. So our department also maintains our Freedom of Information Act request. And, Mike, being the guru that he is, does a really great job of that. And so those are the main elements that fall within our department. And, of course, we do a lot of the communications and the media relations and the coordination of events and talking points and speeches for our commissioners and other elected officials, and, of course, the administration for El Paso County. So there's a lot that falls under that umbrella. I can't say that, there's ever a dull moment within our department, but we are responsible for quite a lot of the messaging that you see, including our website, again, our social media, and a lot of the platforms that we are able to reach our residents. That's kind of what we are responsible for. So yeah, as you said, Scott, being the fearless leader of this group, it can be a pretty heavy lift sometimes, but having the great team that we have, I think we do a fantastic job.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I'm a little bit biased, but that's okay. Mike, how about you? Tell us about what a Colorado Open Records Manager is all about.
So my primary responsibility is processing open records requests that are received by the county. For the offices and departments that fall within the purview of the Board of County Commissioners. And so it just any given day, you don't know what requests are coming. It could be anything. And that's one thing I find exciting about my job is every day is different. You don't know what's going to be happening, what type of records requests are going to be coming in that day, and getting those processed properly and efficiently to meet deadline statutes, things like that. But aside that role, as primarily it's open records, but I also assist the team as needed with media inquiries, media interviews. We do, our team works a lot with publications, and we have monthly and weekly newsletters and things of that sort that go out that we all contribute to, and so that takes a lot of work from our entire team. So it's very exciting. There's always it's always different. Every day is different for all of us, for that matter.
So one of the attributes of a communications team, I would say, is it's usually pretty small. Mm-hmm. Anywhere from large major corporations to any company that exists out there. The communications teams are usually pretty small. Right. Vernon, for you, why is it important then to make sure that the makeup of the team is such to where they can be relied on to do the kind of things that need to be done?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, and Mike kind of hit on it a little bit. So the type of people that we look at to bring in on our team are folks that have multiple skill sets, because, you said it, most communications teams are small. And so the value of having someone who has multiple skill sets, it can be extremely invaluable. And we also place a great emphasis on cross-training. So Mike kind of mentioned that, yes, his primary focus is open records requests, but at the same time, he cross-trains and does a lot of the media relations as well. And so we put a big focus we're very deliberate in ensuring that any one of us can step in and assist in any fashion, because the nature of this type of profession is that you never know what you can be dealing with. There's media relations, there's social media, there's digital media that you need to be versed in. There's writing speeches, writing talking points, press releases. And there's just so many aspects that fall within our umbrella. Having someone that knows how to do a little bit of each of those tasks is something that we put high on our priority list, because you just have to be able to be nimble, be flexible, and adapt to whatever situation is thrown at us.
So both of you have mentioned in one form or fashion that there's never a dull moment here in the communications department. So what are some of the things that you guys are working on right now to help kind of illustrate that? Mike, let's start with you.
Well, it's ongoing, and in our neck of the woods, just various open records requests that have come in. And what's interesting about what I've learned in the 4 years I've been doing this gig is that the records requests and the amount that we receive throughout the year, it trends closely with people's schedules in terms of like their kids being in school and vacations. It really does. It's interesting. It does. And here's what I'll explain it to you. And here's why. So what I've realized is that, like when people have their kids start school in September, and we're all of us are parents here, we know how busy those times are, and their focus tends to go to getting their kids started up. And we tend to see a little trickle down, like a little less in chorus, and then things kind of pick up again, and then all of a sudden it'll be Thanksgiving will be around the corner, and it'll just pretty much die. And then after Thanksgiving week, we get slammed again, and then Christmas vacation comes, and because people are out with their families, they're celebrating with their families and focusing on their attention, and it's an interesting trend that I've noticed over the years. You can pretty much predict when you're going to have a really busy influx of requests, and so right now it's just after Thanksgiving we're getting slammed, and there's a lot of different things that have been coming in, and so I know that's pretty vague, but that's typical. That's the job.
Yeah, and I wanted to quickly follow up on that. So, as someone who is in the position you are, where transparency is key, and that's one of the core values here, and something that we try and promote as much as possible, despite the fact that it fills up your plate to overflowing, why is it still important for you, and something that you can actually appreciate as opposed to just grumble about in the corner? And I sit right across from you. I would know if you do. Yeah. But why is it something you actually appreciate?
So from the get-go, one benefit for me coming into this role is that I've always been an advocate for government transparency. I mean, I didn't really have the terminology or the knowledge that I do now, but like, you go back to when we were in college, right? And we were like rocking out to Rage Against the Machine, right? You know what I mean?
Good old days.
No,
Yeah,
no,
right.
I don't know what you mean.
You don't know what, I don't know, just like that idea that I've always liked the idea that the government works for the people. And in this role, I hold to that. And so what's really cool about working for an organization like El Paso County, where transparency is one of their core values, is that I get to be a part of that. And it gives me opportunities to showcase how El Paso County does work hard to promote transparency and to be the leading example in that field. I think one thing that is important to understand now that I work in this role that I didn't understand before, is that when we talk about wanting as citizens saying we want to see everything and anything and we want it all out there. Well, hold on a second. Let's really look at what that means. That would mean that businesses and anyone that wanted to would be able to access our social security numbers, for example, our birth dates, and very sensitive information that I can tell you I don't want that to be given out to anybody. And so things like that, I realize now that we do, as citizens, expect a certain level of security from our officials as well. And so in this role, it allows me to see that balance and how it operates.
Yeah, I like that. Very good. So, Vernon, what about you? What are some things that you're working on right now?
Yeah. Real quick though, I just wanted to just kind of recognize, how valuable that type of mindset is for your position, Mike. I mean,
thank you.
Being able to recognize, those trends, during the holiday period, how the requests kind of die down and then they ramp back up afterward. I mean, just knowing that and recognizing that and preparing for that, it speaks volumes as to, how well you are at your job. And, I talk about this all the time, having your background as a math teacher and thinking very analytical like that is extremely beneficial. One wouldn't think that there would be a correlation between that, but it makes perfect sense looking at the example that we have. But just wanted to just kind of throw that out there. Yeah, absolutely. But for me, I mean, you guys kind of mentioned a little bit of what, one of my biggest priorities right now, and is that's kind of helping to facilitate and coordinate our county strategic plan. And so what that means is, like you talked about our core values, and we're talking about our strategic plan. What we're in the process of right now doing is kind of formalizing our strategic plan. We're working on a dashboard that'll be public to all of our residents in order to see how we are doing as far as services, as far as our infrastructure, and just different elements throughout the county, because we want residents to know that a lot of the decisions that we make are driven by data, and making sure that data is presented in a way that our resident can understand, and therefore ultimately result in them understanding why we make certain decisions, is extremely beneficial. And there of course we all know that there are residents who are more engaged than others, and this is just another platform, another tool that our engaged residents can use to help understand why we make the decisions that we make. There's a lot of strategy that's put in. There's a lot of meetings that are going into this effort, and that's one of the biggest things that we're working on. But of course, there's other big projects. Like right now, one of the biggest things that we're kind of gearing up for here, this week, and moving on into this next year or so, is the project over at Rex and Meridian. I live out east. There's a lot of our residents that live out east, and so we are, we're making efforts to improve the safety and traffic flow out there, especially in Rex and Meridian. I go through that intersection every morning and take my kids to school, and so I'm personally involved in what happens at that intersection as well. And so that's one of the biggest things that's going on. I think that's going to be one of the most well-received projects out east, because we all know that that this is a little overdue, that specific project. And so, we're looking forward to that. In addition to that, one of the other big things that we are working on is ensuring that we are accessible to all our residents through our website. And so we recently updated our website, and now one of the biggest focuses is ensuring that our website is accessible. And so when we talk about accessible, we're talking about those residents that may have some difficulty reading or navigating our website due to any types of disabilities or what have you. And so making sure that all of our residents are able to access the information that we provide to them is a big priority of ours and a big priority of the county. And so, there's legislation that's coming down requiring a lot of municipalities to fall in line with that. And, I'm comfortable in saying that, this has been a big priority for us for quite some time, even before this legislation came down. And so, that's a big effort that's going on right now as well.
So one of the things you mentioned was that strategic plan dashboard. You mentioned that's for the public, right? So they can be aware of the kind of things we're doing and why we're doing it in the first place. But how does that public feedback drive the work that we do specifically? And Mike, you can chime in after Vernon, but I'd like to hear your response first.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Our public feedback, and that's a big element of what's going to be put in place with our strategic dashboard, is trying to find better methods on how we solicit feedback from our residents, because that feedback will ultimately drive some of the things that we need to focus on. So, for example, if there's another project out there or an intersection that is having some issues, for lack of a better word, knowing that and hearing that from our residents is extremely important, and we can start focusing resources towards that. And so, understanding the needs and wants of our residents will ultimately help drive the decisions that are made across the board. And as of right now, there hasn't been a consistent, formalized way to do that. A lot of the feedback that we get is, the phone calls that we get, the emails that we get through Citizens Connect, the public input that we get at some of the Board of County Commission meetings, the emails. And so those are some of the ways that we have been getting feedback. But we're here in the next year, you're going to see a lot more intentions in how we are extremely focused in making sure we understand the needs and wants of our residents, because at the end of the day, we're here to serve them, and understanding what's important to them is extremely helpful in how we make our decisions. And the only way to do that is to hear from them. And so we're just trying to create more ways in order for us to actually hear what their needs and wants are.
Yeah, and Mike, for you, you work with the public on a daily basis,
right,
in like a very specific type of work, right? So how does that feedback you get from them inform how you do your job?
We, to Vernon's point, it is received and very much considered. I can think of a couple examples. Going back a few years ago, this is when our county administrator, Brett Waters, was first hired on and to lead the county and everything. And myself and the time the person in charge of our department was Ryan Parcell, and he and I met with Brett to talk just about overall, kind of just talk about our processes with open records and things like that. And one question that had come up, our little department, when I first started here, we were not set up to receive payment for staff time compensation from requesters, depending on the length. So the way it works, let me back up for a second. Basically, every open records request under Colorado statute is given 1 complimentary hour of staff time. And if the request can be completed in that 1 hour, then there's no charge to the requester. The statute allows for any government entity to charge to compensate for staff time beyond that 1 hour, and there's a dollar amount that's also set by the state. when we met with Brett, when we started having these conversations and questions, one of the things that, because our department was so small, is we had no way of accepting payment from residents through a credit card. It was all done either sometimes actually people would pay on site with cash, or they'd mail in a check. And when was the last time you guys wrote a check? Right? And that's the question Brett asked me. He said, when was the last time you wrote a check?
I don't carry cash either, so how would you even accept the cash?
Right.
Just open your drawer?
I hated it. Thing? I had to keep the cash in my drawer until the next day that I could deliver it to finance with the receipt and the invoice. But yeah, I don't like handling cash for that reason. Yeah. I don't have any, we're not set up for that. And that was a really, he was right. Like, I don't even know where my checkbook is. Like, I don't even know if I have a checkbook at this point, And so,
maybe you should look into that. By the way, well, you're not quite sure where your checkbook is.
My wife, she's got it covered for us. But that's exactly it. And it was an inconvenience for requesters. It slowed down the process of the time where they'd receive their records, and it created a hassle for them. And so we worked with finance, and despite this, how small our department is, that we were able to find a way to offer that option to residents that wanted to do that. It's the other one thing I was going to mention too that I think that's recent is Citizen Connect. Okay, Citizen Connect is a platform, an online platform through our website that allows citizens to very easily, I think, user friendly, be able to make I don't know what to share their concerns about
service requests,
potholes, or whatever the case may be.
Yes, contacting their commissioner, all kinds of elements within Citizen Connect. Yeah.
What I really like in general, I'm a firm believer in one-stop shops. And our open records requests, the citizen currently and how it's been set up, while it can be submitted online, they have to go to its own page on the website. And navigation, it's okay, but I think it could be better. And this is another area where El Paso County shines, because IT has been working really hard on leading that, and I've been be able to work with them to find a way to get the request forms added to Citizen Connect for no other reason to make it easier for citizens. That's the only benefit that it brings to the table, but it's something that we all want to offer. And so we're always looking for opportunities to take that feedback, to look at ways to improve our processes, to better meet the needs of our citizens.
So speaking of looking to things that can help improve the way we do things, one of the emerging technologies out there in the communications field specifically is AI. This is a conversation that's been going around for quite a while, but I think now it's become a little bit more ubiquitous and something that people are really starting to consider using on a daily basis in their jobs. So why do you think it's something that we need to be paying attention to, Vernon?
Oh, yeah. So, wow, this is a topic that I'm extremely fascinated by, and something that I'm paying very close attention to, one as a professional and one as a leader of a department, especially in a communications department, because this new technology is just changing the playing field, and this is probably one of the biggest developments throughout my career on how it can be used and how it is changing the landscape and how we do things. And so AI is something that I've kind of preached to you all and the rest of the team that we need to start accepting, because that's just the way things are going. I mean, it's revolutionizing the way that we do things in ways that, I would have never even thought about, 10 years ago when I first started down this road. And so it's changed. One of the ways that it's helping is it's a way for us to kind of complement the way that we do our work. And so a lot of industries, a lot of jobs are concerned about AI technology replacing them. I'm not necessarily too concerned about that, because I see I see the AI technology as a way to complement and to partner and even improve and enhance what we do. I mean, we've been experimenting here in our department with some of these technologies, and it's increasing our productivity. It's increasing some of our processes. You know, I'm finding different ways to use it. I'm encouraging the team to find different ways that we can utilize it. But of course, there's a lot of other considerations that we're really paying attention to, and so. You know, this is something that I even brought up yesterday, is that I want to do a training here for our department on, you know, the ethical uses of AI and ways that we can start implementing this technology in our workflows, because there's just, you know, the sky's the limit when you really think about it on ways that we can implement it in our processes. And so ultimately, I think that this will be a way to benefit our residents, because we'll be more efficient. You know, our productivity will increase twofold, just because of, you know, it'll be able to handle a lot of those mundane tasks and a lot of those tasks that we spend a lot of time on, which could be easily handled by that type of technology, and allow us to focus on things that are a little bit more strategic in nature, a little bit more outside of the box in nature, and find different ways to be creative in how we can serve our residents. And so I welcome it. I'm looking forward to it. You know, I know, you know, it's changing every day, and it's one of the fastest moving things right now in our field. And so I'm paying close attention, because I feel like if we don't jump on this wave, that we'll get left behind, and ultimately that'll mean that our citizens and residents will get left behind on what we're able to offer them. And so, you know, I want to be at the forefront. You all know that I'm a big advocate for being on the front lines when it comes to some of the creative, innovative things that we do. And so this is just another example of how, you know, we can stay on the front lines and make sure that we stay ahead so that we can better serve our residents.
And in your opinion, I know this is, again, it's more of an emerging technology and something that we haven't delved too far into ourselves here at the county, but how do you think you find the balance between using a tool and taking advantage of it for what it is versus turning it into a crutch? Now, I think especially as communicators, where writing can be so subjective, it's hard to really put forth a lot of effort sometimes when, you know, you can have something else do it for you. But again, just like with anything, if you stop working out, your muscles are going to get weak, sure, and you're not going to be able to perform at what you used to do. Same goes for writing and that kind of thing, where, you know, if you start using something as a crutch, then, you know, your skills are going to ultimately diminish a little bit. So how do you think we can use it as something that will benefit the team and our productivity, but not allow it to become a crutch and have us rely on it too much to where our own skills sort of diminish?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's a great point. And that's I think that's one of the top concerns for people in our profession, is just making sure that you keep at the forefront that, again, at the end of the day, this is a tool and should be used as such. You know, we have many different tools in the toolbox as communicators, and this should just be one of them. And so one of the things that I'm going to emphasize for, you know, just for myself and for the rest of the team, is to make sure that we're not using it as a crutch, because, you know, there are a lot of downfalls to that, both personally, individually, and, you know, even in your profession. You know, you always want to have those, you know, the creative juices flowing, if you will, and using it as a crutch, relying, you know, solely on technology can hinder a lot of that creativity. And so you just got to find that balance. You know, people are you know, they're going to need to take some, and this is just my suggestion to those that are listening when it comes to this emerging technology, is that take some personal accountability in ensuring that you do keep that balance. And that's something that, you know, I'll continue to drive home for myself and for the team, is because, you know, if you're relying so much and solely on this type of technology, it's easy to fall into that pattern and stay in that lane for the duration, and it's hard. It can be difficult to come back out of it. And so to prevent yourself from being stuck in that rut of relying solely on this type of technology. You just got to keep at the forefront. Remember, this is a tool. You got to keep that balance. We always want to have that creative touch, that personal touch. And, as from what I can see right now, that's just not something that this type of technology can provide. And so, I will always be in support of the human factor of communications. No matter how advanced AI technology gets, I will always be an advocate for ensuring that, the human factor is still prominent within our role.
And Mike, I don't imagine you would use it so much to write, but how has maybe AI, maybe other emerging technology helped you in the work that you do? I mean, I'm sure you do any number of search term result based finding, sorting through hundreds and sometimes thousands of documents. Like, how has emerging technology helped you in your role just in the time that you've been here?
Yeah, so you're right in that there's definitely a rigor to some of the requests that come in that you basically need to look at line by line and make sure that you're not setting out anything that would violate HIPAA or someone's rights to privacy, things like that, and you would certainly never want anything like that to be sent out under your watch. There is. Ever since I started this gig, I get private companies that reach out to us for all sorts of things. It's common in any profession. There's technology out there that these companies will claim can do that sorting and can do that searching for me and the redaction for me whenever there's sensitive information. And I've looked at how what's been presented, and what in my opinion, the human element is just necessary. Yep. You cannot hand that over to AI because something will slip through the cracks. And the reason why is because you don't know what you don't know. You don't know what information is contained in these documents, and there's so many different things that might be in there. And then the only way to know for sure is to put your eyes on it. And so I haven't been. So I've avoided those types of services, but instead, what we use is Adobe is incredible. It's amazing, and it allows for a lot of things that we're able to meet in the middle between doing it absolutely myself or having AI do it. But what you can do in the middle is be clever and figure out search terms and words that as you're reviewing these documents, you'll start to see a bit of a trend, and then you can run a wide search for this specific topic. And so it's a manual, but it's also using your software and computers for what it's intended. By a mile, the biggest software is when we are dealing with documents that have attachments to them. And in the past, we'd have to open each of these manually and click on each attachment, and it would take us hours. It would cost the requester more money because it was taking us more time. Right. So there was a software package that we bought. It was a plug-in to Adobe that takes those attachments and linearizes it into a book form for us, and that has saved us. That's a tremendous amount of time, and that allows us then to pass those savings on to the requester because it's now taking us staff members less time to fulfill that request.
I like to add to that. I mean, that is just another example of a tool that we have implemented. And so we talked about a little bit when you asked me about the use of AI. I kind of focused a lot on the writing aspect of it. But there's so many different uses. Like you still have to input information into these AI platforms, which are called prompts, if you will. So you still have to feed it information. So there is that partnership, but at the same time, I see a lot of it being used to analyze data. It can quickly feed it the data, and it turn around and it can recognize trends. Like so, a lot of our email marketing campaigns, I can feed it that data, and it'll spit out recommendations and suggestions on what we can do to improve our click rate. You might want to consider changing your subject line because this will drive more readership. And so there's different elements to this AI topic other than just writing. you kind of mentioned it. It can analyze data. It can do this. There's so many different things that it can do. So,
can I jump in on the AI? So I love AI. Okay, this is like aside from my job. Like I was blown away from the beginning.
Right?
Yeah, it's just blown away. But I got to tell you, going back, before this gig, I taught high school mathematics for 14 years, and this type of technology, not AI so much, but with respect to math, it's incredible. It's been around for a long time, and I learned quickly in my role as an educator how like what you were saying about weakening a person's skills by using it too much as a crutch. There's a website that's amazing called Wolfram Alpha, and you can type in any math equation, and not only does it produce the answer, it shows you step by step the solution, and it's been around forever.
I got it add again.
Yeah.
Hey, you guys keep going.
This is an awesome topic.
It's so cool.
So I love that he brought that up, because literally the night before last, my daughter's studying for an algebra final. And, as communicators in our field, it's pretty common that we're not very good at math, except for you, Mike, of course. You're an anomaly for sure.
The exception to the rule,
I love very much the exception. And so my daughter is showing me these problems, and I'm like, I don't even know where to start. Yeah. This doesn't even look like it's part of the English language to me. And so,
what language is this?
Yeah, exactly. What I ended up doing, and this is just one of the cool things, is like, you can take a picture of the math problem.
Yep.
And then
feed it in.
Yeah, you feed it in. Yep. You send it in, and then and so the question I asked is, hey, solve this problem and explain it to me like I am a fifth grader.
Yeah.
And so it broke it down. It broke it down in very simplistic terms, and so I'm able to help my daughter with her homework by using this as a tool. And so it's telling me how to solve it as a fifth grader, and I'm then again trying to feed it to my daughter and help her understand the concepts as well. And so, I mean, that's powerful. That's life-changing.
It is.
And
when it's used that way, it's so powerful, because now you have a tutor in your home.
Yes.
But what was happening when I was teaching is now all of a sudden I had to make sure that kids didn't have their cell phones with the Wolfram Alpha app on it. And so there's this other side of the coin. Another example that I remember seeing once. I don't know if anyone here is familiar with the slide ruler. I don't know. Is
that a math
thing? It is. So let me ask you this question. If I asked you what the square root of 2 was, how would you go about giving me that solution?
Scott, what do you got?
Square root of 2. How would you go about it? I said you can use whatever tools you want. What would you do?
Exactly. This is the problem.
I don't even know.
Sure you do. You would take out your phone. You'd open your calculator app.
Oh, right. Yeah. Well, you
type in
honestly, I don't even know the square root button on the calculator.
Fair enough.
That's not a great answer for me.
Okay, fair enough. So let me give you this example I saw. I was watching TV once when I was, I remember I was just kind of kicking back watching television, and this clip came on, and it had this high school student, and she had a TI-84 graphing calculator, and next to her was an old school math teacher, and he had a device called a slide ruler. Okay. Because calculators have not always been around, but I can tell you that humans have been able to calculate the square root of 2 well before calculators and technology. So how did they do it? Well, one device that they used to use back in the day is something called a slide ruler, and it would look like kind of having 3 small rulers next to each other, and the middle ruler, if you will, would slide, and it'd have a number line on it, and each line would be an operation, a mathematical operation, and one of them was a square root. And so what they were demonstrating, said, okay, take the square root of 2, and the high school student was able to produce a solution quickly, and the guy with the slide ruler, it took him about 30 seconds, maybe a minute to get there. And the point was they were trying to say, look how great technology is. But as a math teacher, when I saw it, I said, which one of those people understand what it means? Like, what does the square root of 2 mean? Right. If I told you the answer was 1.41 approximately, what does that mean?
Right.
And this guy with the slide rule would be able to say, well, it's the number that when you square it, you end up with 2. And the girl with the graphing calculator would be like, I don't know. It's the answer.
It's just, all you did was ask for the answer. Right. I gave you the answer.
And I think that what I'm getting at is that's the same thing with our role. Now, I'm going to make a confession here. I've been using AI, man, in our team for a while, and I have a buddy who was a developer with was not a developer, but was a test in a test group for Chat GPT. So I saw it over a year ago, and I was blown away. And so Bard came out with Google, and when we would need talking points, I would go to Bard, and I would say, write me talking points for this, this, and this from the, and it would produce you that list. Now, what do you do with that list? Do you send it straight to Vernon and Natalie? No. Right. What do? You got to do, okay.
Human element.
Human element.
Yes.
Here's some ideas to get me started. And that's what I find it to be so amazing about is it gives it, that's a good, I didn't think of that.
And so I think that's what you're seeing a lot, especially in our field. A lot of people are, and I guess I don't want to say it like this, but this is what I'm hearing and seeing, that a lot of people are implementing these techniques and these tools in secret in a sort of experimental type of way to see if this is something that can improve their processes and productivity, and so you're seeing that, and I know I see it. I've walked by and I've seen they're using something, and so but again, it goes back to that balance, and again, you got those talking points back. But of course, you definitely do not want to just send that as is. You got to put the human element in it, and so that's I think that's the biggest part of dealing with this new technology.
Very good.
I could talk all day on this.
I was going to say, better move on to the next topic because we'll be here all day.
A whole episode by itself.
So, what is a recent success that you both have had, and why is it important to the work that you do? Vernon, we'll start with you on that one.
A recent success, I think, are we talking about personal success or?
Well, you can take it as you want, man.
Wow. Let's see. How about Mike go first?
Okay.
Deferring to Mike over here. Okay.
Hey, that's all right. I was on the assumption this was based on work, so I have a work answer for you.
Sure.
So one thing that I love about our team and our leadership is how open everyone is to new ideas and to allowing us to try new things. And sometimes that means that we try and we land on our faces, and sometimes it means we have something really cool as a result. And recently, one of the ideas that I brought to the table was this idea that when either Vernon was on vacation or when Natalie was on vacation, that one of us would be able to step up as what we refer to as the interim deputy chief role.
Yeah.
And to my excitement and surprise that this got greenlit with Natalie and Vernon.
They don't know what they started with.
You have no idea the power you've been given us.
Pandora's box.
That's right. And it was a few weeks ago that they allowed me to wear that hat for a few days, and it was really cool to be able to get that leadership experience in an environment where it's absolutely hands-on. And it just so happens during that time that there was a request, an open records request that came in, but also, this one was sort of a open records, but a media request by a reporter that was working on a story regarding the expenditures of the county. I think every month the county is required to,
by state law,
to publish the expenditures for that month in a newspaper. And this reporter had gone through that and had some questions about some of the expenditures, and that was the story was focused on. And so I worked with Vernon. We worked a lot with Nikki Simmons from our finance director to make sure that we were providing answers that were, of course, correct answers. That's the biggest thing that I sweat about, right, is you want to be right. You want to make sure you're giving them information that is accurate and correct. And Nikki's amazing, and she worked with us on that, and Vernon as well. And Nikki was interviewed for the story that this reporter did. And the story came out, I think it was last week, and there's something really cool about seeing that, because here's the story now. It does what I want, what I believe in. It was a story on government transparency and on how those funds were used and why they were used and what the decisions were made by our people, by our staff, and how that money was spent. Because we all do. We all see that is taxpayer dollars, and we're all taxpayers here. And I expect every government entity out there to do the right thing with those taxes and whatever that may look like. So that story came out, and I think that was very fulfilling to see that story come out that was on point, accurate, that told exactly what was happening behind the curtains. So that I'd say that for me anyway, that was a success, being able to be part of that.
I enjoyed that as well, Mike.
Yeah.
Just having you be able to be a part of, some of the stuff that you all likely just don't see, on an everyday basis. Being a part of those conversations is, you sat in on some stuff that I was actually dealing with on the admin and staffing side of our department. And so
I had no idea, man.
Yeah, so
peek behind the curtain,
Yeah, be careful what you ask for because there's a lot. There's a lot that goes on.
Yeah.
So that was really cool, and that is something that me and Natalie are extremely happy to do because it gives you all that bigger picture look at what some of the things that are dealt with throughout the department, and also just give you that experience and kind of seeing, because we want you all to grow professionally, and just being able to offer that is just, that's easy. That's an easy thing that we're able to do. And so so for me, the hardest thing for me, Scott, is just picking one, just because
you have so many.
Not me. Not me personally.
Must be nice.
Yeah, I wonder what that's like.
I'm not really referring to myself personally. Right. I'm referring to, I don't really want to speak on any personal successes because, I've always kind of prided myself in being in the epitome of being a team player. And so, I have spent most of my life on a team, whether it was the military, whether it was sports, whether it was, working in a department. I've always been, on some sort of team. And I always have preferred to operate in that environment. And so talking about recent successes, the first things that come to mind is we did that whole website redesign. That was a big initiative, just kind of overhauling our website. Our website was so outdated; it was difficult to navigate, and so now it looks great. We've brought it up to brought it up to code, if you will, because it was difficult, and so that was one of the biggest successes I think that we've had in the last year. Getting fully staffed, I think, was one of the proudest successes I think that me and Natalie have, because when I first got here, we were missing two or three positions, and we had to advocate to add another one, the webmaster, to kind of help with the website and everything. And so I think that is probably the big success, is getting in a very capable and creative and well-functioning team in place in order to help us drive our mission and be able to better serve the residents of El Paso County. I think that's the biggest ones that I can kind of list out.
Very good. And then before we close things out here, I want to give you guys each an opportunity to add anything else that you think would be important for listeners to know about.
If I could jump in on that,
sure.
I just want to take a minute to truly speak about what it's like being employed, being a part of the team at El Paso County, and I can tell you without, just absolutely my true feelings on that, and it's such an amazing place to work. The leadership works so hard to provide us with the best, most competitive compensation packets that they're able to provide, and this especially is true with our benefits when it comes to our medical benefits. It's something I'm just grateful for, and it's very humbling to see how hard everyone works to take care of their people. Another thing I wanted to mention too that is really another example that I just love about El Paso County. I shared some of about how our team does, and our leadership and our team, like Vernon and Natalie, work so hard to allow us to take ownership of our positions, and it definitely feels that way. But as a whole, the county's always, not only is the county looking for feedback from its citizens, but the leadership is always looking for feedback from its staff members. And one of those, some of the feedback they received was a request for more internal training. And the county, the HR, our Human Resources Division, launched this incredible program, mentee mentorship program that I'm a part of, that I'm so lucky to be a part of. And this is what's so amazing about it is my mentor is Stacy Quiddick, the Department of Human Services Director. Now, Stacy's she oversees over 800 staff members, and that's at the Department of Human Services at DHS. In my opinion, one of the most vital roles that our county offers. I mean, I wouldn't say the most because there's so many. I mean, we could talk all day about the important roles, but that one is one of the most, because they are protecting those our citizens that are the most vulnerable. And so I have a lot of respect for the Department of Human Services already. But this has given me the opportunity. This mentorship program has given me the opportunity where I get to sit down with Stacy Quiddick 2 times a week for an hour and pick her brain on what leadership is. And she's amazing, and she's helping me learn and challenging me to even now in my current role to start implementing those leadership practices. I mean, how cool is that? So that's the one thing I wanted to throw in there.
Yeah, great. So for me, the one thing that I would like to kind of focus on is just, to the listeners out there, just know that, we have some really great people that work here at El Paso County, and that definitely does start at the top. Starting with our elected officials and our commissioners, just seeing, some of the things that they're extremely passionate about, and how that translates into how our residents are served, down to our county administrator and county attorney. I'm in a lot of the meetings that a lot of the top issues and a lot of the strategic direction on a lot of the items that we deal with are discussed. And it's really inspiring to see how passionate, our top leadership is about some of the issues and some of the things that we're wanting to do for the residents of El Paso County. And of course that trickles downhill. I've worked at, almost all levels of government, city level, county, state, and even the federal level. And so there's just something to be said about working at the local levels of government, whether it's city and county, being able to directly impact and directly serve the community that you live in. And so that is extremely, I take that, I take pride in knowing that, the community that I live in is something that I can directly assist and help, and there are people in these positions, and, we all, from what I've seen, we all want to do great work. And, just having a great team, around me is something that, I'm extremely grateful for. And, we're always looking for ways that we can improve. We're always trying to improve our processes, be innovative, be creative, and in ways that we can reach our residents and best serve them. So we're always open to feedback. And so, we have newsletters, we have social media, we're live streaming, we're broadcasting, we have our website. We have so many different tools and avenues of ways that we reach our residents. But if there's anything that we can do to reach you, to those that are listening, better ways that we can improve, please don't hesitate to reach out to us, because we're always looking for ways to better serve you. And so, we just ask that, let us know what we can do to improve. We're always looking at doing that. And so, I just wanted to close with that.
Great. Well, thank you both. I appreciate the two of you taking the time today and for all the work that you do here at El Paso County. So thanks for joining me. It's been really nice.
Thanks for having us, Scott.
It was fun. Look forward to next time.
If you're interested in listening to additional episodes of Beyond the Dais, be sure to look for us on Podbean or wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.